Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's special Saturday night pre-Halloween watch party for The Lost Boys. As always, I'm Andrew, I'm the host, and today I'm joined by a bunch of the CREATORVC gang. We've got Dom, who you've met before, our man in the van.
Hello, everybody.
And we've got Carla, our super producer, social media guru.
What's
and
up,
I'd like
peeps?
to introduce you to someone new, Rocco. Rocco's recently joined us here at CREATORVC. Hello, Rocco.
Hello, everyone. Thrilled to be here.
Okay, so Rocco, what is it you do for us at CREATORVC? I mean, we know, but if we explain to the gang what you do.
Yes, I've just been brought on as an associate producer, so I will be doing all sorts of things, but largely assisting David with everything he needs to get the documentary made.
Fantastic. And of course, you will be interacting with our community quite a bit as you've recently joined our Discord server, and you'll be picking their brains quite randomly.
Yeah.
Like a zombie, like our very own zombie who picks on. Oh, welcome everybody. I can see the community is joining us already in the chat. I can see Icy Matty's with us. We've got Sparky John as always. We've got Lizard Man. We've got David, and of course Sharon is with us. So welcome everybody. We're going to have a good time tonight. So tonight's sync point, I'll just post in the chat for everybody. It's about 23 seconds-ish into the movie, depending on the release you have. It's where the music is just starting for the movie, and we're flying over the sea or the water, and it says Warner Brothers Presents. So we'll let everyone get queued up for that. We'll give you a couple of minutes. So let's have a quick round the houses. When did everybody first see this movie? Let's start with Dom.
I first saw this movie, I can't even remember when. I was but a child. My dad, who is no longer with me, unfortunately, but he introduced me to many, many, many movies, which he shouldn't have. This being one of them. I watched this with him many times. My childhood essentially was between watching this and playing Resident Evil 2. That was my life as a kid.
Carla.
I remember I would have been around 10 or 11, and I actually saw this in the theater. So my older brother and my older cousin took me to the theater to see this. So that was not what he was supposed to be doing when he was babysitting me. But so yeah, I got to see it in the theater, and I have a vivid memory of seeing it in the theater as well.
Exactly. And Rocco, what about yourself?
Yeah, so I wish I had a longer history with this movie. As with people might not know about me, I really started to dabble in horror in high school. And this is just one that I missed for a long time, but I probably saw it for the first time 5 years ago, probably in college. But it quickly became a favorite. And honestly, I wish I had seen it earlier because as a teenager, I would have been completely obsessed. I don't know why I passed it up.
It's a fantastic film. You can see at any age. And incidentally, prior to all the chaos of last year, this is the last movie I've seen in a cinema in nearly 2 years. I saw it on a re-release last March, just before the world exploded. So yeah, it's quite nice to watch it again, and it was a real joy to see it at the cinema. So everybody, what we'll do is we'll start our countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Press play. We can hear that amazing soundtrack to this film. Just
It burns out my Walkman.
Oh yeah.
I know. I still listen to this soundtrack.
Let's be honest. Who didn't have, and who still doesn't? Who didn't have a copy of the soundtrack or hasn't got one in their collection somewhere?
I know.
No one, clearly.
So before we get into this movie,
be the best title song for an 80s horror movie, right?
Oh, it's just a great song, horror movie or not. Something I was discussing with Dom before we started this, I've come up with a bit of a theory today. Every decade, there is a vampire movie aimed at sort of the teen kind of audience. This would be the 80s vampire movie at the teen audience. In the 90s, we had Interview with a Vampire. the 2000s, we had Twilight. And what I would say is, as the decades have gone on, those films have been looked on more favorably. So is Twilight going to be looked on more favorably in 10, 20 years' time?
That would
It's
be a
already
no.
It's already happening. If you go on film Twitter, you will see people starting to say, these aren't so bad. These are great. This is camp. Already changing.
But it does mean that, as Dom said, in the 2020s, we'd do another teen vampire movie.
Right.
But none will beat this one.
Oh, no, this is awesome.
The only man alive who can make a mullet look good.
It's so crazy.
Don't tell Dog the Bounty Hunter I said that.
He was, they were all young. They were around 18 when they made this film. And he just always seemed so much older to me. He definitely has a presence. Kiefer Sutherland definitely has a presence on screen.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. The haircut, I mean, David looks just, they all look cool, but he's just like next level cool compared to them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Effortlessly cool.
Yeah.
It's definitely the coolest vampire film. I was thinking, is The Hunger cooler? But I think The Hunger's a little cold. Obviously, that's part of the appeal of it, but this one is definitely the coolest vampire film, in my opinion.
Without a doubt.
For sure. And I think, it has such an impact. Even the creator of Buffy was like, this movie really showed you these vampires could go from like beautiful, sexy, gorgeous to monsters back to gorgeous. And so he kind of used that as a template for his vampires in the Buffy TV show.
Well, it's also interesting because when you read about the film, Richard Donner, who directed the Superman films, was on board to direct it, and he was doing the Goonies. Like, it was after the Goonies, and it was supposed to be more of a kids' film. But Joel Schumacher wanted to make it sexier and darker, and I think that was absolutely the right direction to go.
Yes, it was supposed to be Goonies meets Peter Pan meets vampires. Now that's a movie I probably want to see, actually. That does sound interesting.
It's still all in there, though. I mean,
right.
All the kid family stuff is there. That's why it's that wonderful 80s thing where it's sort of like a really strange mix of family-friendly family drama and fun and a lot of really dark horror stuff.
Exactly.
So how old are the kids supposed to be in this? Sam and Michael?
Well, I think Michael's definitely supposed to be around 18. I would say 18, 19. I feel like Sam is like, 15? Because he's not quite driving yet. So maybe 14.
But 15. He is driving because we see him, he knows how to drive.
Oh, yeah. So maybe 15, 16. I mean, the year before he was in Lucas. Corey Haim was in Lucas, right? They came out the year before. So probably around 15, 16.
It's just, it's an interesting vibe throughout the film. But again, it's with his mother. She very much seems to mother him in the film, doesn't she?
And speaking of her, I am obsessed with her in this movie. She is the mother everyone wishes they had. And the one thing I hate about this movie is once it gets going, you just see her be disappointed over and over and
over and over again.
Oh.
And it was amazing that they were able to cast Diane, was it Weiss or West, because she just won the Academy Award. Yeah. Like Hannah and her sister. So it was like dream casting. But, who doesn't want to be in a cool vampire flick, right?
Yeah, exactly. She's a tremendous actor. I mean, a great movie with her in. 2 years later was Parenthood, which is tremendous in that.
Another good one.
Yeah. And here we are, we're seeing a 80s bald rock fun fair. Who doesn't like poorly maintained rides?
Right.
and buying hot dogs of questionable food hygiene standards.
It's just a slice of California, isn't it?
In Santa Carla. And I got such a kick out of that when I was like, oh, Carla's named after me. And then I saw the movie. I was like, well, maybe not.
Yeah, it's just such a great opening. This weird cinema verite B-roll of just weird people.
Right.
For an extended period of time. It goes on so long, but it's so fascinating.
And they said that Oh, go
Go on,
ahead.
Carla. Sorry, you're saying.
No, I was just going to say that the setting Santa Cruz, Santa Clara was picked because it kind of was about the outsiders, the other, the weird people. Oh, look at that!
I'm not the only one in costume then.
So definitely added to that sense in the film.
Yeah, I was going to say something strikes me about this movie, and I want to get this out of the way quite early on. Is I can't think of anyone in any role in this movie who would have done a better job in that role.
Which role?
Any role in the movie.
Oh, any role. Yeah, perfectly. Yeah.
There's no one you think, oh, he does a good job, but I'd rather it had been X, Y, or Z.
Exactly. Especially he cast young actors and unknowns, in terms of the younger cast in this film. And he was able to get some great performances out of them.
Yeah.
But Joel Schumacher, that's his thing. What he did, St. Elmo's Fire before this. So he's adept at working with cast and young, hot, up and coming actors.
Oh God, can you imagine the smell inside that house? It smells probably smells like a teenager's bedroom combined with an abattoir.
Speaking of young cast, do we prefer Corey Haim's Silver Bullet or Corey Haim this? Which is the better performance?
Oh, you're starting off with
That's
the hard
tough.
questions, Rocco. Let's see.
I have a soft spot for this.
Don't forget, in a couple of weeks, you can make this
Comparison.
You can actually make this comparison because you are going to be doing Silver Bullet.
Yes. I think in Silver Bullet, he had to really carry that film himself, pretty much. But here, I really think he does something here. I like this performance. This character.
I would say Sam is exactly the same Corey Haim as in License to Drive. It's the same character he's playing, just in a different family, the way he portrays him.
Yeah.
The voice drives me crazy. Corey Feldman's voice. Sorry. I think that was a weird segue, but I was just thinking of Corey's. But the Frog Brothers voice he does is just like, what is this?
No two bloodsuckers die the same.
Well, the director told him to rent a bunch of Stallone and Chuck Norris films and develop his character based on that. So that's what that is. A really bad, Rocky impersonation. I'm not Rocky, Rambo impersonation.
I liked it better when Dominic did it.
I like to think the fact is the Frog Brothers know they're out of the depth. They're doing that Batman voice because they're trying to be tough. And they know, and really, they've got a very gentle voice, and they don't. It's daft.
Famous words that I've never been able to take because I always think I can peel it off. It's going to be fine, and I tear it to shreds.
It's the same as when you get that little bit of skin on the edge of your thumb that's hanging off. And you just pull it and it goes up to your armpit. And
then you've shedded like a snake and you have a whole sleeve.
That's it. That's the one. Got Icy Matty. Yeah, sorry, Carla, you're saying. Icy Matty's just saying that Grandpa is from Tron. That's right. It's the amazing Barnard Hughes who. Oh, we're gonna have to pause for a moment just to appreciate this scene is so awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, this is. Oh my gosh, I love this guy.
Yeah, this movie is just such great people watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how much would you like to have been at this concert?
Okay. Do you still believe, Andrew? Do you still believe?
Always. I will always believe. Question for the chat. Do you still believe?
No, I swear, this guy, he's my spirit animal.
Yes.
He was like, I'm going to be in this movie for 2 minutes and I'm going to kill these 2 minutes.
These are my 2 minutes.
Yeah. Tim Capello, he's actually famously Tina Turner's saxophone player for her live gigs.
Yep.
A legend. And he's still rocking those abs to this day.
Yeah. Yeah, if you go to some conventions where he appears, he will actually perform this song live.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Onzi still believes. Sharon still believes. I think most of the chat still believes.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I remember this as a very like sax heavy song, and there's like 8 notes of sax in it.
It's funny because, you know, Andrew, you were saying how they perfectly cast this film. There's no one that's wrong. And for Star's character, he wanted a young, blonde, waif, actress with a pixie haircut, very frail. And he just wasn't finding anyone. And Jason Patrick was like, why don't you take a look at Jamie Gertz? I just worked with her in Solar Babies. And low-key, he had a crush on her. And so he met with Jamie, and it was just like, that's our star.
I also just want to say I love Max's wardrobe. That jacket and shirt combo is awesome.
Honestly, everyone dresses great in this movie. I have no notes.
Sharon, put your tongue back in. She's drooling over Tim.
Oh, no, we're not allowed to do that then. My bad.
Well, I have to say, Jason Patrick, all love to Jamie Gertz, but he is the most beautiful thing on screen in this movie. The most beautiful thing put on screen in the 80s.
Yes. And, we almost didn't have him. He did not want to be in this movie. Like, Joel Schumacher had to, convince him 6 weeks of talking to him every day to convince him to be in this film. He wanted to be a serious thespian. I'm like, dude, you just did Solar Babies.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
You were just in a movie called Solar Babies. It doesn't even matter what the content of the movie is. It's called Solar Babies. You're not a serious thespian, sir.
Sparky John just said, you see there's a Goonies product placement in the background. If you look, this video store seems to deal almost exclusively in Warner movies for some reason. I'm not sure why that is, but there's also a European Vacation cut out as well. Okay, I will say this is the one dud on the soundtrack, this song we're hearing now.
Carnival music.
To the Shock of Miss Louise.
Yeah, I've tried. I really have, but no, I skipped that one.
Yeah. Icy Matty said the famous dog in the shop as well. That was... Okay, actually, Icy Matty, don't you answer it in the chat. I'll leave the question for the chat. Where is that dog from? Dog statue.
Fawn.
No, it's a statue of a dog.
Oh, the statue of the dog. I thought you meant the dog actor.
No.
There he is.
Or the dog actor Nanook. They're both credited, I think.
2 dog actors in one film.
Yes.
Is it implied that those kind of hippies that are sat passed out next to the TV, are they their parent, the frog's parents, maybe?
I think that's what I always assumed.
Me too.
Also, don't you call him a fashion victim? He looks fantastic.
Yeah. Well, he's wearing his army surplus. That's pure 80s. That dog... Okay, the chat haven't quite got it right. That dog is Nipper from HMV, his master's voice.
Oh. I love that you could find footage of that original recording session for his master's voice.
Oh, wow. Oh, stealing some... You see, this is the thing. In the UK, we didn't have many comic book stores like this. They were very few and far between. And you, as casual comic fans, you were never made to feel welcome when you went in them.
Yeah, I remember going into a Nostalgia and Comics was the local comic store I had as a kid, and they treated me like scum. Okay. Rightly so, but...
I'm now going to talk about the motorcycles in this film, because there's something to really appreciate about the motorcycles. I had a long conversation watching this scene with my father today. My father's 74 years old, and he's worked in the motorcycle industry for over 50 years. So he's an absolute expert on motorcycles. And what he said is, looking at these motorcycles, Michael's motorcycle is an off-the-shelf kind of normal motorcycle that he's brought with him. Their motorcycles appear to have the origin of them. If you take the heart of the motorcycle where the gas tank is, they appear to be from motorcycles from the 60s and 70s, but with more modern components from the 80s added to them. So the way I discussed it with him is he thinks that the motorcycles, they've obviously, because the Lost Boys are supposed to be about 100 years old, the characters, they've owned these motorcycles for quite some time, and then they've evolved them, which is why they don't look like any production motorcycle that was available at the time. So it's, again, something going back as we go to see their cave later on. There's lots of bits from different eras dotted around the 60s and 70s, and their motorcycles are an evolution that have evolved with them. So it's just something to point out.
I love this shot. I love how they film this. Like, we don't see them flying, we just see them in perspective.
I kind of like the fact you don't really see much flying in the movie.
Yeah, me too. Leaves it up to your imagination.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's the attitude we all had in 2020. That's as close to town as I like to get.
Exactly.
I'm carrying it into 2021 and through 2022.
They're still asleep. Are they mannequins? They're still asleep next to the TV in the background. It's like another day.
It's one hell of a siesta.
Was this everyone's first exposure to Schumacher?
It was mine.
Did St. Elmo's Fire come on before or
St.
after
Elmo's
this?
Fire was before this, but I saw
Before
this before
this.
St. Elmo's Fire.
Yeah,
I think he did some comic book movies, but I don't know.
I don't know.
We do not
either,
speak of
just-
those.
Okay, those were mine. Those were mine, though, and I have to say, Batman and Robin was a major moment for me as a burgeoning gay boy. Uma Thurman in that film was my everything, and yeah, I have to thank Mr. Schumacher for that.
I can see that it's a very flamboyant movie. Batman and Robin is probably the best way to describe it. It's going off topic from this film. Batman and Robin's biggest problem is it's too much of it's a comic book. It's like what people imagine a comic book movie to be. That's probably the best way to describe it.
Right.
But I think go ahead.
You're saying, Rocco, sorry.
I do think it's interesting because this is ostensibly, a straight film, but it has a big queer audience as well. And of course, because that comes from Schumacher being an openly gay man in Hollywood. But there was an interesting quote from one of the reviewers, I think at the time, or maybe contemporaneously. Elaine Showalter said, I wrote this down, the film brilliantly portrays vampirism as a metaphor for the kind of mythic male bonding that resists growing up, commitment, especially marriage.
Yeah.
So it kind of plays for both audiences. I think straight viewers want to be the Lost Boys, and gay viewers want to be the Lost Boys and be with the Lost Boys.
And I definitely think there was some seduction going on between David and Michael as well.
Oh, definitely. I mean, even as a straight man myself, I can see the kind of the potentially some of the gay undertones in it, because most vampire movies tend to be a male vampire seducing a woman to become a vampire, where it's looking at this. And this is quite unique in that it is a young man being brought in to the fold.
Yeah, the strongest relationship in the movie is between Sutherland and Patrick. And I love Jamie Gertz in it, but I think that's probably the weak point, interestingly enough. They get a nice romance scene, but I don't feel the heat exactly as you get between the male characters.
Right, the chemistry is much stronger between David and Michael.
So
even every time
going back to the motorcycles just here, I'm going to point out something else my eagle-eyed father noticed. David's motorcycle is the only motorcycle kitted for a passenger on the back. It's got an extra wide seat at the back, and it's got a heat protector over the exhaust for her legs. And it's the only one of the Lost Boys motorcycles kitted to carry 2 people.
That is so cool.
Sorry,
this was one of my favorite jams.
I love this scene. Oh, this song. I will admit,
80s.
I've driven my car at night to this very fast, and I was like, oh, I love this.
Who hasn't?
Or particularly being British when I had a manual car, because you could change gear.
Yeah.
You could do the Fast and Furious changing gear in time to the music.
But yeah, even the way that David says Michael throughout the movie, it's so seductive.
Michael, kind of. That.
Michael. Beckoning.
It is. Well, it's something we're going to find out in the movie in a bit. Originally, Michael was brought to be Star's first prey, but it appears David is the one who changes his mind and decides he'd rather have Michael stay around, because on that first night, again, as we're going to see in a moment, sorry, I'm just assuming everyone's seen this movie, but on that first night, David is the one who seduces him, gets him to drink from the bottle, etc.
Mm-hmm.
If he was to be Star's first and it had been being left at that, then either, and they had no interest in him, either they would have ate him or they would have left her with it. But it's almost like David intervenes, as in he sees something he wants in Michael.
Also, interestingly, if the internet is to be believed, I know nothing about the original conception of the script, really, how things looked, but Star was a male character.
Okay.
From the beginning.
It's so funny. So Alex Winters, he was just out of film school, NYU. The vampire that dies by stereo, he was a model in New York, no acting experience. And so just the casting is just amazing. And Joel Schumacher's eye for casting people. It's just, I don't know, it's just something that they all had great chemistry.
It just works.
I think Roger Ebert actually noted that in his review. The cast is flawless from beginning to end, yeah. Which is pretty rare, and it's what the film rides on, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, even Chance. I mean, some kid actors that young are hit and miss. Can be really annoying. But no, Chance, I mean, that actor, that character was even good in this film. Okay, now who wanted to hang out in this cave? Like, come on now.
I don't know.
I'd have loved to hang out in that cave.
I asked that for the chat too. Would you guys would have wanted to hang out?
Sorry, can we just say that's such an 80s bedroom? Look, he's got the giant watch clock on the wall.
Also, this bizarre duo of posters, Molly Ringwald, and then you'll see in a minute a very effeminate portrait of
some dude in a white shirt looking quite buff.
He's in St. Elmo's Fire, isn't he? Oh my God.
I'd have to see.
Rob Lowe?
Yes, I think it's Rob Lowe. It looks like Rob Lowe to me. Also, strange poster placement for that Molly Ringwald.
It is. Unless he's using it to cover like dead badgers or something on the shelf.
I would love to receive taxidermy from my grandfather. I don't see the issue.
Forgive me if I'm being vulgar here, but is there a metaphor why he's bringing him a beaver? And it's that kind of... That is Rob Lowe. Oh, it's definitely 80s. Look, there's a Ferrari with or a Porsche with a woman in a gymnastics costume bent over it.
And Rob Lowe with plenty of midriff.
Oh, wow. They've got a poster behind them as well. I just saw For Months to Go Home.
Oh.
Great set decorating.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's great about the set decorating is it does reveal sort of a bit about them, that you know they've been there a long time, because this cave, or well, this building fell into the ground 100 years ago. And you get the feeling they've been there long because there are things of the era there, like the movie posters, and you see just bits and pieces.
I love that they explain the origin of the cave as well. Like, it's just something that could have easily been cut, but it's kind of nice to have that background.
Now, this was such a big thing to me the first time. It was actually in about 2000s. The first time I ate Chinese food out of a box like that. In the UK, until fairly recently, we did not have those type of Chinese containers. Seriously,
it's a little like a tin foil kind of box, isn't it?
Yeah, like a little tin tray or a plastic box. You'd have it in, like a bit like Tupperware, tin foil or just plastic. We'd have it in, but no, those boxes, nope.
What changed? Why the 2000s?
I don't know. It's in 2000s we started getting them in some places here, and it seems such an American thing to us. Like, oh my god, it's cool little boxes.
Here's the one thing I wouldn't consume out of this cave. Chinese food that are slightly maggoty and worms, sure. An ancient looking dusty bottle, nah.
No. But see, this goes to the whole macho man, challenging man type thing, you know, like this is what you boys do. I don't know this world. Like I'm with Star. We're just like on the sidelines watching you guys like act up.
Yeah, he just blindly wanders into this throughout the whole thing. just for his ego, it seems like.
I would say that wine does, even for it's got to be diluted or something, that blood, because it looks very, very light. But even lighter than wine.
Looks like cordial, doesn't it?
I'll be fair.
I was going to say Kool-Aid.
It's probably better for you than $2 Chuck. Probably tastes better, doesn't it? Sharon's saying vampires eating human food. That's a good point, Sharon. Maybe they can eat it, but it just doesn't. They don't get any nutrition from it. It's like eating Pop-Tarts.
So proud of himself all of a sudden.
Yeah. Oh, do you know what would be really cool if they actually stated that Jim Morrison was actually a vampire and was one of the Lost Boys?
Yeah, this movie has a love affair with Jim Morrison, but we talk about it.
I know these scenes look really cool, right? But in real life, everyone dancing around like this, after a minute, you'd be like, yeah.
I just took a sip, dudes. Like, put your shirt back on.
And this song is iconic. And it wasn't even supposed to be like the main song of the film. But what's crazy is the guy who did this song, he didn't even watch the movie before writing the song. He just had the script. And he wrote the song from the perspective of a child being abandoned by their family. Wow. And I'm like, well, that's not how it was taken by a bunch of gentlemen clubs and strip clubs who loved the song, according to my older cousins. Like, this was the song in the 80s for those type of places. But it didn't have this like innocent thing to it, I think, that the writer was trying to convey.
So got the chat. They're just saying some stuff here. Onzi says Billy Idol should have been part of the vampire gang. They should have offered him the part after Sutherland stole his hairstyle.
Right.
They're saying here, a lot of them saying the vampire makeup here is very similar to Buffy. This must have been a big influence on Buffy. But you said, Carla, earlier that.
Yep.
I just wanted to point out, I love the little details in this movie. I think Star earlier says that she'll pierce his ear if he wants. And this is the first scene where he has a pierced ear. So the piercing happened during that montage, but we didn't see it.
Well, here's an interesting thing though. If Star pierced his ear, then she must have shown incredible self-restraint because she's a hungry new vampire, and that's the whole point, wasn't it? Originally to feed her. And no matter how well you pierce someone's ear, there's going to be some blood, some fresh. So she, I don't know, maybe a little lick of it or something. I don't know, but no, she couldn't have done that because she would have been. If she'd consumed any blood of a human, she would have fully changed. So she must have really had to.
She's a class act.
Yeah.
Also, this scene actually makes me nervous every time I watch it.
There were these arcade machines in my local arcade as a kid that essentially reproduced this effect. There are two poles. I think it was based on
Addams Family, the Uncle Fester machine.
Yeah. And you'd sit in the chair and you'd hold on, and it would zap you. And I'd always think of this scene whenever I'd sit in that chair.
Could you do it all the way?
As a kid, no. I think when I have done once, so I've achieved that manly feat.
Yeah, I used to be able to do it. They had one in the bowling alley. We used to go to with my friends. They had one of these, and I'd be like, I was about 18, 19. I was being really cool, and I'd go, all right, put the coin in, guys, and everyone would go, and I'd just go till the smoke came out like that. But the problem was your hands would be tingling afterwards. And quite embarrassingly once, I came off the machine afterwards and picked up my pint of beer, and it just slipped straight out of my hand because my hand was still tingling.
You got to make it look cool afterwards, though. Like, I'm meant to do that.
Yeah.
I was a boring teenager. I would have never done anything like this. I'm like, it's way past my bedtime. I need to be at home.
I think that was me looking back, but then I actually remember the memories, and I'm like, oh no, I did lots of really dumb, stupid things. I shouldn't be here.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the thing when you're younger, you do stupid things when you're younger now, and you go like, I wouldn't do that now. When I was a kid, I remember I rode my bike down the slide in the park and fell off. And I had some bruises and cuts and everything. Got up like, I was all right. But now I slip walking down the stairs and go down one step, and I'm like, oh God, I need to go to hospital.
Yeah, you sleep in a different position and you wake up, your bones are broken.
Yeah.
Thinking about half the stuff I did.
It's sort of like when you hit 25, 26 and start getting up there, and you start to turn into Edward Herman, being like, these teenagers are kind of scary.
That's right.
I don't know.
Oh, it is. I can tell you, as you get older, once you hit your mid-30s, when I wake up in the morning, I sound like an erotic dancer for the blind when I get up out of bed in the morning.
All your
clicks and noises, yeah.
Oh my God, he's so cool. The glasses.
Oh yeah,
phone,
that's
earring.
That's what I started off with. Oh. Rough night. Can't see the film.
I also love that half vampires can handle the sun.
Yeah. Well, non-full vampires as to how much he is, yeah.
Right.
Maybe it just tires him out. It doesn't kill them. It just makes them a bit under the weather.
It bothers him as much as the sun bothers me.
Right.
It turns you into a teenager, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But you can't miss out on all that Santa Carla sunshine, even if it's a vampire movie.
Yeah,
Sharon just says, wait till you hit 50. I sound like Rice Krispies in the morning when I get up.
Index.
Oh. Got a question from Sparky John here for the community. Who was originally considered for the role of David? And I'm sure Carla knows this. Oh, don't act like it wasn't funny, Sam.
Right?
You're just annoyed you didn't make that joke to Grandpa.
La Cucaracha. I was like 29 years old when I figured out that La Cucaracha is the cockroach. My Hispanic wife told me, and I was like, why do we all sing about a cockroach? Oh, I want to give Nanook all the pets. He is best boy.
He's awesome.
I swear it is really good dog acting in this movie.
Yeah.
Here's
an interesting theory that someone I read posted. If you take the whole Lost Boys thing and you consider Sam to be Peter Pan, then Nanook is Tinkerbell, protecting him and defensive of him.
Totally works.
The next time someone asks me which Tinkerbell do I prefer, I'm going to say Nanook.
Wow.
Ranked above Julia Roberts for sure.
Anyone guess who was originally supposed to play David?
I don't think they have. No, we haven't got any answers.
Or considered for the role. Thank God they didn't go with that one though. Oh my gosh.
Go on, Carla. Who was it?
Oh, well, Jim Carrey.
Oh dear.
Because he had done Once Bitten.
Yeah.
Hollywood types are so uncreative though. It's like, oh, he was in a vampire movie. Let's stick him in another vampire movie.
Right.
Now that's something Nick I don't Cage. Miss. Milk in cardboard cartons like that.
Oh yeah. The interior wax always gave it that funky
Oh no, I'm referring to trying to open the damn things.
Oh. I'd always mess that up. Like the peeling of the, what do you call it?
That's it. You'd do that and you'd have to pull the bit there, but then what would happen is it would separate the top layer from the layer that was sealing it in, and you'd have to, and then you have to poke it and it would just make a mess.
Or you just get some scissors and cut it, and then it's ruined forever.
And I just say Sam is like living his best life right now.
Oh yeah.
In the tub. Like it's just in his own world.
He's a kid who doesn't need the internet. He doesn't need TV.
No.
He's happy.
I was singing this in the shower this morning. At that pitch. And I'm not ashamed of it. My wife looked at me a little funny afterwards because she heard everything, but
but this again is the whole sort of mothering of Sam by, I mean, obviously his mother mothers him, but it's the fact, like, don't forget Sam needs to have his bath when he's 15, 16 years old.
Right.
Don't forget to wash under his armpits. It's Sharon's saying if Jim Carrey had gotten cast, would this be the iconic movie it is today? I think it would have been a very different movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Carla said, Kiefer Sutherland just oozes charisma.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have that many lines in this film, but his presence is all over this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, putting Jim Carrey in there, it feels like dominoes. Like it would knock the entire thing to pieces.
Oh, it would.
This is me with my dog. It's obviously never the dog's fault.
Yeah.
It's always, what did the bad person do?
Oh, I've got a cat. My cat's a professional asshole. That's his job.
Every cat's a professional asshole.
That's what I love about cat people. Cat people kind of hate their cats.
I've accepted that one day my cat will kill me. It's just inevitable, and I've come to terms with that.
Can I also just say I love this? I love when a film, so he just accepts that he's a vampire.
Yeah.
As a given, and he's upset, obviously, but there's no like trying to believe it. I love when a film just kind of cuts out that shorthand.
Yeah.
I love this. Wait till mom finds out, buddy.
I also love that bathrobe. That is so 80s. That is just fantastic with the kind of the pattern on that.
Haim literally dresses like all the Gen Zers dress now.
Yeah, essentially. That reminds me of the set of British cooking show in the 80s and 90s, MasterChef.
Right.
Because everything was color coordinated and dark.
Yes. They're still there. They've got to be mannequins.
Oh, it's a handkerchief. I was wondering what that lace thing was over the lamp.
Well,
You know your world's turned upside down when your brother's a vampire and you're calling the Frog Brothers.
Yeah.
Like, how did I get here?
they returned for the sequels, don't they?
Yes.
Kind of.
Well, yes. Yeah.
I like to think there weren't any sequels, though, having seen the sequels.
I have to say the third sequel wasn't horrible. I felt that the third one, wasn't horrible, that they did bring back some original cast members and kind of left a question mark with the film, but it wasn't horrible.
Another 80s sequel would have been nice because there's sort of a the final punchline before the cut to credits kind of sets it up as if there could be another. So, but obviously they waited far too long.
Well, he was thinking about doing. Oh, he was thinking about doing one for Lost Girls. Schumacher had written the script and they were trying to figure it out. It just never got made, but he wanted to do one, but called The Lost Girls.
There was also rumored to be a prequel that they were going to make about how the Lost Boys came to be the Lost Boys. And it was Dracula who turned them. And they were a group of bank robbers in San Francisco in the early 1910. That was one of the ideas bandied around.
Sounds kind of like From Dusk Till Dawn 2.
They're doing a
sequel that shouldn't have been made.
I think they're developing a remake with Noah Jupe from A Quiet Place and Jaden Martell from It.
That'd be good.
Not quite the same, but
no, not at all. I mean, they just seem very young. Maybe they're doing the original like young boys, like
well, that's interesting.
Type boys script.
That's interesting because now we cast a lot more teenagers as teenagers in film.
Yeah.
Back then, that was pretty atypical.
Yeah, unlike for example, Power Rangers, they cast 35-year-old men.
Right.
The 16-year-olds. The chat are currently seeing I Believe I Can Fly. And IC90 says, this is before The Boy Who Can Fly. No one enjoys The Boy Who Can Fly.
Wait. I enjoyed The Boy Who Can Fly.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Always happens, Carla. Every time there's a film that no one enjoys, you're the first person to go, actually, I enjoy it.
Actually.
And this is the start of Diane Wiest's life being ruined for the rest of the film.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, where do you, after the film ends, where do you go from this in your life? You're a character in the film.
Back to Arizona.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
No, I would move alternately every 6 months to the opposite poles of the Earth to be in those places where it's perpetual daylight.
I did like how this film was realistic in the sense of they just didn't forget about their mother. Because I feel like in movies like this, the parents just they go off somewhere and you don't see them ever again and there's no mention of them. But she still very much wants to be involved in her boy's life and they know that.
Yeah. I like that, but what I don't like with her is it's rinse. I think Rocco, touching on what you said, it's a bit rinse and repeat with her role in this film. It's always running back screaming to the house, oh, what's happening this time?
Mm-hmm.
But she sells it. I mean, with her warmth and Oscar-winning capabilities, she plays her scenes really beautifully. And I especially think of the scene. I think it's coming up in a bit when she says to Jason Patric, "Are we still friends?" I think that's a really fantastic scene and gives her character a lot of color that a lesser actress may not have been able to.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm sure she feels guilty about the divorce and they have to move in with her father. And so she's dealing with all of that.
But I also love her just saying, "I'm about tired. I've just about had enough of you too," because it's sort of a cruel thing to say. But mothers pushed to their limit will say those things, and I think it's a really realistic performance.
But the other thing you can see as well is to her character, she's very non-confrontational normally, because in the divorce, she stated she didn't try and get, the reason they've got nothing is she basically was like, yeah, the father can have everything. I just want a clean break.
Yeah.
To answer Sharon's question, I don't think my mom has seen The Boy Who Could Fly. And she's not joining us today, but she did watch The Lost Boys with me last night. So.
Wow.
And she does like this. She's not a fan of vampire films, oddly enough, but she did like this one though.
And Max has such a cool 80s house.
Oh, yeah.
What's her preferred monster, Carla?
Her preferred monster. Her preferred monster is Damien from The Omen.
She likes that hard satanic stuff. No,
exactly.
I'm kind of struggling with this scene to understand what's going on here. I know it's misdirection for the audience.
Right. Well,
or is it just are they just messing around trying to... Is there another scene in a minute where he's like, come on, guys, don't be stupid now?
Right.
Boys will be boys.
It is interesting how blatant it is that he is who he is. When you watch it back, though, and you really pay attention.
Yeah, but you're right, Andrew. That was kind of an odd scene. That's just kind of out of nowhere to try to, okay, we got to set something up.
It's sort of like a red herring trying, even though it's confusing because they work the rest of the time. All the clues are there, but that one's sort of a lame attempt to try and throw you off the scent.
Also in this scene, where's Laddie? I hope he's with the other Lost Boys. Otherwise, this is very...
He's there, yeah.
Yeah, he was there when
like
Michael walked in.
Also, yeah, I hate to say this. This always just feels, I mean, I'm happy. I'm always down for billowing fabric and naked bodies. That's very 80s, love it. But I just feel like this romance adds very little. It does. Feels very tacked on.
It doesn't have as much tongue as Top Gun either.
What does?
This is a Richard Donner influence. There's so many aerial shots of people flying. I mean, I do wonder if this was even some of the footage recorded for some of Superman that was reused by Warner potentially here.
I think that's a safe bet.
Sparky Johnson, it's that 80s love montage moment.
All right, well, okay. While we're waiting for something to happen now, let's go back. When you were a kid, if something like that came on the movie and you were watching the movie with your parents, what did you do? I was like, does anyone want a cup of tea? I'm leaving the room. Can I get you a cup of tea or a biscuit or something? I was like, I was one of those kids.
Oh my gosh.
Embarrassing.
Okay, worst story ever. I used to watch, I love the film Porky's, and it would come on cable, so they cut out all the bad stuff. And I had no idea it was rated R. I just thought it was a funny movie. So I rented it and I brought it home and I put it in the VCR and I watched it with my parents. That was the most, I ran to the VCR so fast to stop the movie. My dad was so upset. I was so mortified. I was like, I had no idea there would be penises. That was to this day.
That's a rough one. Yikes.
Exactly.
I was inoculated fairly early. Like I said, like I watched this a bunch with my parents and Extra as well. Both very family-friendly movies.
My parents were pretty open. I remember going to see, my mother took me and my little sister to see Titanic in the theater. And I remember the nude drawing scene specifically. I covered my eyes, and my mom said, "It's okay, Rocco, you can watch," but I still covered my eyes.
We've got a question from our community from Onzi here. Question, can any vampire enter a house uninvited if one of the other vamps got invited but not anyone else? The answer, depending, will resolve an issue I have with the movie and vampire lore / rules. Well, this is something I'm going to speak about in the movie as it goes on, because the vampire lore in this film is quite different. I just want to say, how big is Grandpa's house? It's got like wings to it.
It's that post-war economy, baby.
Did he construct it all himself?
I also love it. Grandpa's always off, doing his own thing.
In his own little world.
I hate this scene. Poor
I
Diane.
never realized that he has a bridge that like is over a chasm. That's amazing.
And and he's got neighbours, or is that his garage? I think that's his garage or garage. Sorry. That
I can't let my wife
him.
hear me say garage either.
Yeah.
Can't watch. No, sad. Poor woman.
All right.
Max's video store must be very profitable.
Right. This is one of the scariest scenes in this movie for me.
Yeah.
This is his dog chase scene.
Cujo must be a rough watch for you, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Oh my God, what is that doll on the back? That's horrifying.
Right. Oh no, that's a laughing. Oh, I've got a video of one of them somewhere. They're terrifying. They're laughing clowns. You put a coin in and they just bounce up and down and go like that. They're absolutely terrifying. They've got one at a vintage fun fair not far from me.
Kind of like the fat lady at the fun house, Toby Hooper's Fun House.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I'm eagle-eyed in the shop at the moment. I'm looking for the TV set or another one, see if the parents are still just next to it.
They've been dead for weeks.
Or they're vampires and they're making a power play, so they're having their children kill all the other vampires to become the head vampires.
The expanded universe.
So are you team Corey Feldman or team Corey Haim?
Team Corey Haim. I fell in love with him in Lucas, Silver Bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you.
Yeah. Same.
I like to think I'm team Corey Haim, but I think I am team Corey Feldman, mainly because he was the character I always reenacted in the playgrounds when I was reenacting this movie.
I could see that about you.
Yeah, but I can't look at the last Corey the same way after that performance he did of that Michael Jackson kind of knockoff song on that morning show.
No,
he danced,
stop.
He danced like a goblin.
I pushed it out of my memory. Thanks a lot, Andrew.
Yeah, modern Corey is a goblin is a very
because he dances like a goblin in it. It's the only way to describe it.
Yep, I remember how that feels. When my mom went back into the dating world, I was as animalistic towards every single new father figure as well. You got to put him through the ringer.
Did you invite them into the home?
Never.
Oh, thank God for that. You would have been powerless if one of them turned out
Exactly.
to be a vampire.
I'm not having them eat all my garlic.
You said to them, you can come in, but in case you're a vampire, I'm not inviting you in.
It's like, I am never seeing your rotten dog again. Well, they're just here to ruin your dinner, Mom.
Yeah. Well, what we do see is that okay, if everyone doesn't know, put your hands in your ears for the next 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Max is a vampire. And clearly inviting him over nullifies all the things you can do against them, because we see them, he has a reflection. They pour holy water on him and they feed him garlic. And none of them have an effect on him.
But my question is, who has to do the invitation? The legal rightful owner of the house? Because she's not, her father is.
I think it's any resident.
Any resident. Mm.
You refer to Michael as the man of the house?
Mm.
If Grandpa wasn't there, he'd be the oldest male of the house.
Right.
Do we see Max during the day ever?
No.
No.
How do you?
But we'll see. But we'll see in a moment. They've just fed him garlic. He has a full reflection, because it's already established in this movie earlier on, when Michael's starting to turn, that vampires do not have a reflection.
Right. Yes. Yeah, that's a bit messy.
Holy water.
Onzi's saying, see rules thrown out the window. I don't think it is Onzi. I think it's more a case of the invitation he knows has nullified anything they can do against him.
I think he mentions it towards the climax of the film. He's like, you invited me, and never invite a vampire into your house.
And then the rest of them are able to come in the house, correct? Because he's been invited already?
No, because in this one, it appears you don't have to be in the Buffyverse. They have if we take that, because that's one of the most popular ones, you can't cross the threshold of the house if you've not been invited. But in this, the other Lost Boys can come in, if you notice, but they are all vulnerable to holy water, garlic, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the inviting them in just nullifies anything you can do it, because Max will say later on, don't invite, as Dom said, don't invite a vampire into your house, you silly boy. It renders you powerless.
I soured on True Blood very quickly, but as most people did. But I do love when they revoke an invitation to a vampire in that show. The vampire's like,
just launches them out
the door.
Well, sorry, I think we can notice then it's any male or any person in the house. I don't know if it's just a resident, because Grandpa was in the house in that scene.
Okay.
Also, such close talkers in this movie. It's just faces like this all the time.
I know, but that would be, I'd be retching as well. It's the worst thing in the world to me. He's two things. One, he's blown smoke into your face, and two, he's got horrendously strong cigarette breath when he's talking to you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's all in his personal space.
Yeah, like talking to an ashtray. Now, it's interesting, this song isn't actually on the soundtrack.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Also, just the strangest song choice for a death scene, a massacre scene.
Yeah.
It's crazy. In the novelization for this movie, they were given the surf Nazis. I guess that's what they're called, this gang. They were given a lot more. they were given a lot more kind of backstory in the book. And the book also gives more kind of the vampire lore as well. about not being able to cross running water and salt sticking to their forms. And interestingly enough, Michael was a trash collector to get some money for that cool leather jacket he's wearing. Yeah.
I was wondering if I had an Aerosmith badge on here somewhere, but no. Heavier stuff.
Now, something I don't quite get about this scene is they're trying to manipulate Michael into basically committing the murder, taking blood to become a full vampire. They hint at threatening Star, but they're not going through it. But surely they would maybe go through a bit stronger with if you don't do this, Michael, we are going to kill Laddie and Star, to push him over. But then I was thinking about this again. Sorry, I have these really stupid thinking it through. In some vampire lore, to become a vampire, you have to give yourself willingly to the vampire. So is it they needed him to basically do this of his own will, and they can't force him into doing it?
I always interpreted this scene as, this is all the fun we can have, Michael. Isn't it tempting? And maybe the blood's just, oh, lovely scene, that with the head.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is where it actually gets scary for me the first time.
Yeah, I've always figured it being a chef cooking a delicious meal in front of a starving man.
Dom, I agree with you. I think it's more that they felt that they could tempt him more this way. They didn't know his will was as strong as it was. And there's a little bit of cruelty. There's a little bit of cruelty there too. You know, a little bit of bullying and hazing and cruelty as they initiate him into this game.
Mm-hmm.
Something I would have liked to have seen, the only thing I could maybe think would have improved the story a little bit, and maybe it's something in the book that's removed, is the father to have been an asshole. The unseen father, that they were fleeing neglect or abuse or something like that, where Michael had stepped up to be the fatherly figure and been the very protective one of the family. It's kind of hinted at here, but I would have liked to have seen him maybe be a bit more the man of the house in the unit as they move up.
Maybe in the novelization? That's the kind of grandpa I want to be. Just occasionally like hazing the grandkids.
Yeah, but it would have been cooler if you'd have plucked the owl's legs fully, because it would have just been comical then. Have you seen owl? Can someone in the Discord please post a photo of an owl's legs? It is the funniest thing you've ever seen.
I've seen that before. It's very strange.
Sharon says, if a vampire gets invited into a house, then the residents of the house lose the ability to fight the vampires. So what happens if all the residents leave the house and a non-resident of the house comes to fight the vampire? What rules will dictate them? I think you have to look at your homeowner's agreement for that.
All in the lease.
Who's David?
And they've posted some pictures of owls in the Discord, and I can't look at the screen now because it is... I get the feeling, the casting's great, but I get the Michael love story. It just doesn't, I think, Rocco, touching on some of what you said, it doesn't kind of gel as much.
Well, there's a better romance in the film, isn't there? The David Michael romance.
Now that would have been an interesting twist.
And the whole laddie thing is so really, who cares about laddie? I'm sorry.
Especially after he goes a bit barbaric in a bit. It's like, nah,
Yeah.
screw that kid.
It's so it really is just so tacked on.
Gotta hit those beats. It's an 80s movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand why it's there. It's
Mhm.
just feels sort of out of sync with everything else to me.
But was Laddie basically like the little girl interview with the vampire, almost like a pet? They thought it'd be fun to make a kid vampire.
But I feel like they barely use him.
Right. Until the
No
end.
vampire.
At least Claudia has quite a substantial role in Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah, it's a three-hander, that movie, if you ask me. She's as important and as iconic as those other two actors. I love the seaside photography and location.
Yeah.
It's so gorgeous.
Yeah, I think the cave and the house were on Warner Brothers lot. Like they recreated the house.
Yeah.
On the studio, but then everything else was filmed on location.
Close talking again.
You're right. It does have a lot of very close.
They always
Where's
say
his
you
bandana
only
gone?
get this close if you're going to hit somebody or kiss somebody.
Okay, right. Just watch the next scene. Is his bandana back? His bandana's gone in that scene.
And when they remake this movie, you know, they have to be like 6 feet apart. So they're not going to be able to have those close scenes. So that shouldn't be a problem.
I didn't feel the brotherly relationship because they weren't.
They were so far apart.
No.
They weren't touching noses.
They could go the other direction, and the recast version of Michael has to carry Sam on a piggyback the whole movie in every scene.
Such a well-lit cave.
You'd think that, you'd think they would pick something that was a bit darker.
Is there another vampire movie? I can't think of one besides maybe some sort of broad comedy where the vampires hang upside down to sleep. Because I think this is the only one.
I don't know why I'm thinking, Life Force. But that's space vampires.
A bit different, but
are they upside down when they find them?
Pretty sure there's a scene with upside down space vampires.
I know it's space and
up
and down. Yeah.
Sharon's saying, would anyone here actually go into the vampire den to kill some? Anyone brave enough? No.
I like to think I am.
I can tell you no.
And if I had a gang of people who were doing it, peer pressure alone would make me do it. Alone? Nah, I'm a chicken.
I'd be hanging there. I have no will to resist vampires. I get it. I don't want to kill people, but if you're young and beautiful and dressed like this for eternity, I'm in.
Well, and if that Kiefer Sutherland offered you his bottle of magic wine, you'd be,
yeah.
Yep. No qualms.
I like the fact they're not being subtle at all.
Right.
I love what Heavy Sleeper said.
Hey, look, it's the vampire cave up there. We'll go stab them.
What?
You know, I don't know if this is true, but they said that this was the first film ever where they created vampire feet, and they did it specifically to make them more monstrous. Like,
I believe it.
And I'm like, you know what?
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
think we ever saw vampire feet before this.
That's the kind of thing you can claim you did first, and no one's going to question you.
And right there where the frog brother stabbed him, you could tell that the stake, you could see where it would collapse. They didn't even try and hide it.
Calbot, they killed Bill, most heinous.
Yeah.
Oh, now they're
Most
starting. We've got
heinous, dude.
bogus. Yeah. Well.
This is their Goonies moment.
Yeah.
Or Monster Squad.
Yeah.
But this seems quite good because this does establish that sunlight will hurt them.
Right.
Mhm.
This scene here with the tear coming down.
The one
Yeah.
tear.
The one tear that was not planned. His eyes were just dying from the contact lenses,
Wow.
the lenses, and so the hard glass lenses that they had to wear. It's so
Oh.
uncomfortable that the tears was just coming down. And they were like, we should keep that. We're going to keep that.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I love those little moments you can't plan for. Mike's
I-
just baking in the sun.
Exactly. He's knocked out.
This is where they don't realize how far Michael's transformation is. They come back and the car's just on fire with Star and Michael and Laddie.
Two skeletons.
just silhouettes.
Uncle Aaron and Aunt Beru on a road trip.
Yeah. I was about to say like Star Wars. Speaking of Star Wars, warp speed.
Pardon?
You mean Star
What?
Trek, don't you?
Good God, don't say that to our community. Just as well it's not a In Search of Tomorrow watch
canceled.
party.
Exactly.
I'll leave the live stream. I great, everybody.
Like I said.
Oh, there's an Echo in the Bunnymen poster, which is kind of cool. An Echo in the Bunnymen song earlier in the movie.
Oh, cool.
I love just how they crash a church and no one really cares.
They're always open.
No.
Oh, that's definitely such a great 80s video store because it's got the kind of crappy tapes that they'd have in some of them as well. There's like a compilation of Betty Boop cartoons. Oh, and I just noticed on the shelf that the kind of thing that you'd get as a secondary choice. And yeah, it was never
Random neon plastic hanging
Yeah, I
from the
love the
ceiling.
hanging acrylic that everyone's bumping into.
Oh, I miss neon. I do. Neon signifies happier times.
Sparky John just says the vampires in Lost Boys have glitter blood. It's a prequel
Oh, yeah.
to Twilight.
Oh, no.
Do you know what I'd love? A supercut of like the Goonies, of the Monster Squad, of all the kid teams, just like riding around in this one square kind of get together,
Montage scenes.
going on their missions.
Yes.
Oh, it's a baptism that they're crashing as well.
At least the font's full.
Okay, but who did it better? Who did this montage better? This film or the Monster Squad?
Rock Until You Drop has a special place in my heart.
Yes, me too. Me too. I'd have to agree.
But I mean, E.T. sent kids on bikes into the stratosphere. So
Oh, don't start me on E.T. I don't like E.T. E.T. was a dick. I'm sorry, right? Tell me how E.T. improved their lives whatsoever.
Is he supposed to?
Yeah, but he's supposed to be this
That wasn't his mission.
Yeah, but he didn't have it in the interaction with them. He didn't make their lives better in any way at all. And at the end of the movie, you know, Elliot was going back into the chamber to be poked and prodded for the rest of his life.
Oh yes.
So, yeah.
See, Andrew, this is why you should like Mac and Me.
Yes.
The original ending of Mac and Me.
I think that's a lateral move. I really don't think that's...
Mac and Me and Howard the Duck both have a special circle in hell. Just...
I love Mac and Me.
They're just, I know E.T. is ugly, but they are so ugly. Mac and Me. There's cute ugly, and then there's just obscene ugly.
Just ugly.
Yeah, but Mac and Me has whistling, aliens doing this, and then it plays like a Coca-Cola commercial for 90 minutes.
And I hate their lanky bodies, adult ones. I hate that court scene at the end with them in human clothes. It's just not right. It's completely unsettling.
Oh, yeah.
But Andrew, I've never heard that take before. That's
Sharon agrees with me. Thank you, Andrew, for saying what I've been thinking for years. Let's make the t-shirt. E.T. is a dick.
I think that's my other favorite 80s mom is Dee Wallace in that movie.
Yeah.
Or Dee Wallace in any movie in the 80s.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
I'm also jaded towards E.T. because I saw it at the theatre when it came out. I was about 4 or 5, and I nearly choked to death watching the movie. So they just released in the UK these things called choc dip, which I think Dom would probably know. It's like
Choco
a little
dips,
pot.
yep.
It was like a little pot you opened. It had like some Nutella in it and like some little breadsticks, and you dip them in and eat them like that. And I was watching the movie, not really paying attention to what I was doing. And I basically pushed nearly a whole breadstick down my throat when I was about 5. And so about halfway through E.T., I'm choking.
Yeah, it's these little cookie, like tiny little cookie straw things. They're
Yeah,
great.
that's it. Yeah. I love Max's outfits are great. That's like a Mr. Rogers kind of sweater going on. That cardigan.
I don't know why, but it reminds me of like everyone who dresses in RoboCop. It reminds me of just a scene from RoboCop.
It's
I think it's the
80s
grey colours.
casual leisure wear, yeah.
That's funny you say that because one of the vampires I was thinking when I watched this recently, he gets sort of a RoboCop moment in the bathtub.
Yes.
Help me.
Oh, it's one of my favorite scenes of that movie. I love it.
Gotta admit, this movie races by so quick.
I know.
It's not a long movie, but it would.
Don't leave Nanook.
That's one of the things. I think the editing in this movie is so tight. It doesn't have any moments where it just loses steam.
Mm-hmm.
Very little fat to trim.
Mm.
You know, one of the things that gets me in any horror film is a chase scene that so this scene right here where it's just like they're coming, and again we don't see them. I
think that really helps though, not seeing them, because I think there's an element of it would look a bit stupid, or it wouldn't look. It might have danger of looking a bit dumb seeing 4 vampires kind of Supermaning down to you.
Yeah.
Arla lives in mortal fear of a steady cam.
Exactly.
Or the unsteady cam from Evil Dead, just two 2x4s.
Yeah, this guy's the one I never know his name as an actor.
Yeah.
I love Billy Wirth, who gets it with the stereo. He's the second most beautiful man on film in the 80s, but he is the most beautiful man of the 90s in Abel Ferrara's Body Snatchers he's in.
Okay, I'm going to say
boy.
Nanook is the MVP of this movie.
Yeah. It's always in the bathtub as well. Like that's his kill zone.
I think the actor's name is Brooke McCarter.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll forever be that one RoboCop guy in Lost Boys. Even though he wasn't in RoboCop.
Yeah, I wonder if he did anything else notable, because the rest of them sort of did, at least to horror fans.
I just love the fact the plumbing goes so over the top.
Rocco, to answer your question, no, he did not do anything else.
Really?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nope.
Oh, this Joel Schumacher lighting.
Yeah.
What that man can do with his colors. It's fantastic.
Yeah, he's not afraid to use them.
No.
Considering they were expecting a vampire attack, I would say Sam is quite poorly prepared. You'd think he'd have some weapons and a torch on him and
Garlic on him or something.
yeah.
He had that bow and arrow that he was using very poorly.
Or one of those super soakers, those little water pistols they had with the holy water in it. Oh, there we go.
This is getting a little ahead of ourselves, but who needs preparation when you have Grandpa's bad antler storage?
Oh yeah.
Now that antler storage gives me anxiety. Very.
Not the face. Oh. Who knows how to shoot with a bow and arrow? Have you ever shot with a bow and arrow before?
I have. I've shot with a short and a long bow at camp when I was a kid.
I have not.
This song makes it onto the soundtrack.
Only once, pal.
Some go quietly, some don't.
Yeah. I do love the fact it's just over the top deaths for them all.
Apart from, well, David doesn't exactly, it is over the top because of the way it happens, but he dies so softly and gently.
Yes. But I wonder if that was on purpose.
Again, giving credence to that forbidden romance subplot.
No, I wonder if David's apparent death was deliberate in case of a sequel.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's the only one of the vampire gang who, when they die, doesn't have an explosive death.
Right. So how well does this fight hold up today with them flying at each other and in the air? And
when I rewatched it, I thought it was a bit, it's a fine fight, but it's just over a bit quick. I think that's my biggest problem. But then necessarily they're not ninjas. I don't know if we should be expecting
right.
martial arts and flipping, and it would be just kind of probably a bit of punching and shoving.
I think vampire fights are always kind of weak sauce.
Yeah.
I can't really think of one. I mean, I think there's a reason the Underworld series is a lot of gunplay.
Yeah, what about the Blade
Otherwise,
movies?
it's just people flying at each other.
Blade movies?
That's vampire on vampire.
Yeah. Or no, vampire on vampire half the time.
The Attack of Eddie Munster. Screw you, kid. This also has a very low body count, apart from all the
People who die.
surf Nazis, were they called?
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Good point, Onzi. Why is the toilet paper coming out of the mattress? Maybe they were storing the toilet paper under the bed. He was there.
Yeah, it's where I store all mine. But
I do have to say, the way they turn this
Yeah.
pretty stunning house into a house of horrors at the end is really
the
fantastic.
light, the underneath lighting is so cool on David.
Mhm.
See, every vampire fights like this.
Yeah.
just a coordinated dance in the sky.
Yes. And the Michael licking his lips thing was like, okay, all right,
Just kiss already.
okay.
Yep, just kiss.
Ooh, Sparky John posted a cool photo behind the scenes of them, the flying rig that they put together for this fight scene. It looks incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That
It's like
is
this
so
stick.
cool.
And yeah.
That's
Ooh,
amazing.
thanks, Sparky John.
He gets a little spotlight on his face from somewhere.
It's like Marlena Dietrich in all of her movies.
We just need a soft filter now.
Yeah.
The only issue I've got with that is it's the light is coming onto him. It's not. If it was emitting from him, I'd go, oh, you know, vampire death. You emit light, but you attract light.
I also love that it's quite a lengthy climax. I mean, they're in this house for quite a long time at the end here.
Yeah. But they killed the vampires with relative ease.
Yeah, they were prepared. They knew what they were doing. They read the comic book.
They had the Frog Brothers to the rescue.
Yeah, the Frog Brothers were pretty useless.
Nanook killed their vampire.
Bill,
Exactly. When I first saw this, I'm like, what's going on? Why hasn't he changed back?
Can I also just say Edward Herrmann is tremendous in this, and what a great actor he was in so many things, because he's such a comedic actor usually.
I watched this last night with my partner, and he's a big fan of Gilmore Girls, which we've been watching. And for those not in the know, that was, I think, his last real big role before his death, probably. So it's very bizarre to see him in this role.
And he's the only person who has also played, strange enough, Herman Munster, as well as possibly as well as Fred Gwynn, which he did in one movie.
Don't tell Rob Zombie. He is stupendous in this, though. Although the reveal is kind of obvious, in my opinion, I think it's really well done.
Very well done.
Especially because you have sort of this square compared to the other guys.
Mm-hmm. She was like, who is this girl? She's coming out of my house.
To be fair, the mum is the only one saying what everyone else would be saying, like that.
Exactly.
What do you mean, damn vampires? And
like, who's she? Where's she come from? What's going on? Lucy, that's the name from Bram Stoker's Dracula, too.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's suddenly the stepfather.
That tongue coming out is just...
Yeah.
Yes. And the sound effects with it.
I think Diane Wiest could have rocked being a mom vampire, though.
Yeah.
If that's the way things went.
I wonder how old of a vampire he is.
well, if he made the Lost Boys, he's got to be over 100 if they're supposed to have been about 100 years old themselves. But that could be why he's got such wealth and that house, because he's owned that house since it was.
That is one thing that would have been nice. You know, speaking of Buffy again, the Master is, you know, bald and obviously a much older vampire with his punch mouth. Would have kind of been cool to see Edward Herrmann have sort of a different look.
Yeah.
Right.
Bigger reveal.
It's got longer fingernails. That's about it. Most of them. But again, you see, this vampire goes with a bang. David didn't go with any kind of a...
Right. He went without flair. He didn't have flair to his death.
No two vamps go the same way in this universe.
So please explain. So the grandpa knew this whole time what was going on, and that dude was the head vampire. Like, he's just waiting outside, and it's like, okay, now I'm gonna go in and kill the head
I've always had a
vampire.
problem with the grandpa coming into the house like that, and I
Right.
realize now the car was outside. So it's like, that son of a, that blood-sucking mollusk is in there.
I always feel like it should be a joke. Like, I accidentally hit the gas when I meant to, you know what I mean? Because that's how
Right.
he feels the entire rest of the movie. To have him driving directly through the wall like that, it always feels like it's supposed to be a joke to me, and there's no punchline there.
But they've all changed back. Everything's great now. So we're just coming up to the end of the movie, as everyone's aware now, and the greatest line ever. But what I want to discuss after this, after we finish the movie, what is the next morning?
Well, for
These
me,
characters-
it would be the morning, the next day. Like, I'm sleeping. The next morning, I'm just sleeping. Don't talk to me. Don't bother me.
If you were the mother, you'd sleep in a world easily that night where you knew vampires existed.
Oh, I would take some drugs to knock myself out. Like, I need a timeout from life to like try to center myself to figure out what I'm doing next.
I like how grandpa just goes for his soda pop.
Perfection. And the fridge closed.
Well, everybody, that's been The Lost Boys. Once the credits
Yay.
play, we'll just discuss a few more things. But thank you, everyone, for joining us. This has
Thank
been
you,
so
everyone.
much fun. I know you wanted to do this for a while, Gala. This movie.
Oh, love this movie. It was so much fun.
Well, we've got
Yep.
a great theory
Surf
from
Nazis.
Sparky John here, which is it's been highly theorized by fans that Grandpa was actually a half vampire, and the root beer was actually animal blood due to his hobby as a taxidermist, which is why he didn't want people touching it in the fridge.
Thank you, Sparky John. I thought that for the longest time because I was like, why was that? Always had his special drink, and he knew about the vampires, and yeah, I always thought there was something up with the grandpa.
In some of the comics, I've not read them, but I'm aware that they state the Widow Johnson is the head vampire, which is a completely different angle. For it to go down.
The Widow Johnson.
I don't know. It's pretty crazy, but it's been so much fun doing this. It's great to do an extra one for you guys on a Saturday or a Saturday night if you're in the UK. Thank you, Rocco, for joining us. It's been tremendous having you with us, and I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yes, it was a blast. I love this. Fun to chat with all of you and everybody in the Discord chat.
Well, we'll just have a chat with our horror community. We'll have to have one with our sci-fi community tomorrow. So forgive me if I'm duplicating what I'm saying. As of, well, tomorrow, I will be on holiday or vacation for 3 weeks, which I'm very excited about. So the wonderful Carla will be looking after you with the watch parties with Dom helping. So you've got some great stuff planned, haven't you, Carla? Got some good watch parties on the horizon.
Yes, we do. Silver Bullet is one of them, a favorite. So yeah, we have some good stuff.
That's going to be great. So, but tomorrow we'll be back as normal with our sci-fi community,
Mhm.
and we will be doing
Galaxy of Terror.
Galaxy of Terror. I do apologize, everyone. It's been a long week. Been a long week trying to get everything closed down for my vacation with my real job and my daytime job, getting ready to go. But yeah, so I'll be away, but I'll be maybe popping in. I'll be floating around in the Discord. So you have a great time. So I'm going to give the last few words to Rocco as our sort of extra special guest today. How could this film have been improved? What would you have changed about it?
I'm going to quote, I can't remember who said it on SNL, but it is a quote that it's a one sentence review of Interview with the Vampire. Not gay enough.
So just cut Starla out.
She
Star
can be.
out of it.
She can be Jason Patrick's gal pal.
Or
you know.
sister.
Yes, or sister. Yes, yes. I'm kidding. I wouldn't. I really wouldn't change a thing. I love the subtext. I love that there's a lot for everyone in it. Like I said, it appeals to a broad demographic of people. I love something that works on sort of two levels, because straight fans love it. Gay fans can sort of see themselves in it, as you had to back in the 80s. Yeah. As I said, I don't really love the Jamie Gertz-ness of it all. But there is one change. I would just cut out Laddie now that I'm speaking about it.
Yeah.
Poor Laddie.
Get that little fucker out of there.
I kind of agree with you, because he doesn't add anything to the story at all. There's not even really an element of where it's like, oh my God, we've got to save him. The Lost Boys have got him in the cave and we need to rescue him. It's almost like he's a pet dog.
He has less character than Nanook.
Honestly, he's like her little handbag dog in the movie, because they go down the cave. It's like, okay, don't forget Laddie. Yeah, don't forget my handbag.
It feels like a studio exec thing. Like, what about a kid? That would add some gravity to the situation. You know, when you don't need it, you really don't.
And well, thank you, Rocco. We'll go to Carla. How would you have improved it? What would you have done? Is there anything you'd have changed?
No, I don't think there's anything I would have changed. I mean, I wouldn't even gotten rid of Laddie at all, you know. Yeah, no, for me, it was perfection. For me, for my 11-year-old self and my older self, it was perfection. And, you know, I think the casting was just top notch with the casting. I mean, the only thing is maybe giving us a little bit more background about the Lost Boys. I know we always do this thing about wanting to keep them mysterious versus giving too much information, but I would have liked to hang with them a little bit more.
I think I probably would have gone along with you, Carl, there. Maybe something like some old newspaper or something showing how old they were, you know, something from, you know, showing them working in that hotel before it fell in, or something as bellboys or something like that would have been cool. Dom, what about you? Anything you would have changed?
Not really. I think what I would have liked to see was the sitcom spin-off of Grandpa and Nanook crossing America and taking out vampires.
The Grandpa and Nanook movie. That would have been tremendous. Well, everybody, just to say to everyone, have a wonderful Halloween if we're not going to see you tomorrow. And I will see you all in, well, 4 weeks for me, because I'm away 3 weeks. And I will be back with Megaforce as the watch party I'm going to be doing with you guys. But until such time, I'll be handing over to Carla. I'll see you tomorrow, but then Carla's the boss. So everyone take care, stay safe. Have a wonderful Halloween, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween.